doesn't matter if you have the right team, right?
Yeah.
And the right product. If the market is not there for it, it's not the right timing, it's not going to work, and it didn't work.
I'm really excited to hear sort of the problem you're solving, and so we'll start there. Like, what is Gtmhub trying to solve for?
Gtmhub is effectively trying to solve for the 5 things that I think most companies worry about or keep the executive team and board members and really everyone up at night. The first is, are we focused?
Yeah.
Right? Are we transparent? Are my employees engaged with work? Is everyone pulling in the same direction?
Yeah.
And are people being held accountable for delivery of that work, right? And there are different methods to do that. A lot of times people administer this via an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation.
We've done both of those.
Right? And then you end up with this amazing amount of management overhead where you have an established process and that's great. But what we're trying to establish, much like everything else, is just an optimization of that exercise. We want people to actually do the work. We know that people need to report that work so that they understand what they're doing, what their focus is, how everyone else fits into that picture. Are those things actually aligned with the department, team, or company goals, and during what duration? But at the end of the day, I find that there's always this champion, the CEO or the COO or the HR lead that is responsible for administrating this process. And they're super excited about it.
Right.
They have domain expertise in it, and there's everyone else. And frankly, those people don't really care that much.
Yeah.
Or they may be uninformed. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It seems like such a hassle. Oh, it's that time again. Where do I pull my data from?
Everybody's dreading it,
Everyone's dreading the check-in and the quarterly, whatever it's going to be, a town hall. I want to relieve companies from that pressure, knowing that they need to do that.
Right.
And make it, hopefully, as frictionless as possible, because that's the job to be done.
Yep.
Someone's got to do it. And I want to offload that job, the really nuanced, annoying work of that job with this product.
So tell us a little bit about how the company was founded. I know there is an interesting story behind it, sort of where you were founded and what led to the team trying to solve this specific problem.
Right. So the heritage of this team actually came from Bulgaria, Sofia specifically. Most of the founding team, most of it, actually started in a company called Telerik. Mm-hmm. And that company at some point got acquired by Progress, which is a massive win for the country, honestly. It was a game changer for that country. And there was a group of really smart engineers that thought there were these basic problems that the company had at the time. Like, what's our MRR? What's our marketing spend? What's the return on investment on that spend? What's going on with our sales cycles and how are they closing, right? No one had answers to these very foundational, fundamental questions. And then GTM, the go-to-market, part of it became a reality, and that's where the name actually came from.
Right.
So they have this insights board where effectively it draws all of this data together from all of your third-party stuff that you use, your software, and it just renders it so that you're like, oh, that's my data. That's what I need to know about my business. And one of the things I talked to one of the co-founders, he said, you have to listen to your customers. And as a product person, I'm like, yes.
Exactly.
Please do that.
That's music to your ears.
Right? Because they were so dogged about this particular thing being the product.
Yeah.
And they recognized that nobody actually wanted that thing because it was all over the place anyway, or they were doing it. It wasn't an issue.
Right.
They just weren't doing it as effectively as they should have, it sounds like.
Right.
And so they were like, well, what are the problems? And they're like, well, how do you take this stuff and get people to even know it exists, right? And then to do work to affect change to those things.
Right.
And that's when OKRs became a module in the product, to go along with effectively as a KPI dashboard, right? It's like, these are numbers that we want to turn the needle on, hopefully positively. Sometimes not, because sometimes it's like, I need to make sure we don't have outages.
Yeah.
That's a goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's not always positive contribution actually is a good thing. So we have that baked into the product.
And tell us sort of your role and how you got involved with the team there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I actually met the founding team last year at Techstars.
Wow.
And that was like a completely kind of serendipitous thing.
Right.
My husband is much more well known in the tech community than I am, or at least my experience at, like, this was a shift in career for me.
Right.
And so he actually knew Connor Murphy. Shout out to Connor Murphy. He's the managing director of Techstars in Berlin. And he asked both of us actually to mentor. And so, unfortunate for all of those startups, they had a husband and wife pair.
Wow, that's nice.
that actually helped support the teams. And this particular team, I don't know, there was something about their product. I mean, as a person who's an operator, like, I really enjoy operations.
You're drawn to sort of solving these
I was like,
problems.
we need to solve this problem.
Yeah, I can see that.
And they showed me some of the product back then, and it was not what it is today.
Right.
And I was like, this is really great, but why is this yellow?
Right.
Or why is this thing happening? And they were like, well, you know, we don't really have, it wasn't intentional. We just kind of did it. We picked something. And I was like, everything should be intentional. You need a product person. And that was our conversation last year. Then fast forward to this year, Yvonne was in town in Berlin, and he was like, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee. I'd love to chat with you. And we were talking actually about a COO role.
Right.
He was like, I think we got to get operations in order. I was like, okay. He went back to Bulgaria. He sent me an email, and he was like, I feel like I totally bait and switched you. I think I need a product person. And actually, out of all the products in the world, I feel like this one is the one I want to build.
Right.
Because I feel like I understand the mind of an operator.
Right.
And I want COOs and CEOs and HR leads to really love this thing.
Do you just own product? Do you have engineering? Like, what are the teams that you are responsible for? And how big is the team today overall?
So the team, I think, is at 21 people. I think that's true. Yeah. We're hiring incrementally, and I'm seeing a new person in Slack, and I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
So it's starting to get to the point, like, who's who? But I'm responsible for products, so that would be the engineering team, and we have a designer who does also front end, and then I'm product. Mm-hmm. And then they're actually located in different places across the world. So we have customer success and sales components in San Francisco now, and Bulgaria, so to cover Europe and Asia. We have business development and strategy based out of London, growth and product out of Berlin, and then engineering and design and front-end development in Bulgaria.
How do you just speaking about teams and staying on that theme, are there things that you do from a culture recruiting perspective? Are there things as a smaller team that you care about? Because one of the things that founders struggle with, or could use some insights on, is just the learnings from others on how they're doing.
Yeah, the foundational thing I've learned is culture is not what you put on a piece of paper and print and stick on a wall.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I find that people look at those things, and if you're not actually behaving as a company and organization in that way,
based on those principles,
then you have a bunch of people who believe that everything's just, it's hypocritical.
Right.
And people become disillusioned and embittered by these things. Because they're like, wait a second. Like, we say that we're these things, but we don't behave this way, right? And then it gets frustrating. And so culture to me is what you hire, fire, reward, and discourage or even reprimand.
Right.
Like, that's really it.
You have a wide spectrum of experience prior to joining Gtmhub. Can you share a little bit about sort of your journey, and if there are some things that you've learned along the way that you're bringing both to your company now, and things that you would advise other entrepreneurs or startups or founders who could use some of that insight from you.
Wow. I mean, that's a big one. I mean, I had 2 careers prior to going into like a startup early stage environment. I worked for Wunderlist for a time. A lot of some people know me, and they know this part of my story. I actually quit a really good job and started as an intern.
Wow.
With Wunderlist. I'm just go.
That's a pretty big.
I'm gonna go full
move.
here.
Yeah.
I was an intern. I mean, everyone knows
Right.
I'm not an intern based on my experience.
Right.
But at that time, I'm not kidding you, I was getting paid 400 euro a month.
Yeah.
400
Wow.
euro a month.
Wow.
I mean, talk about being humbled, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, wait, if you're talking about like taking home the value that you give to a business and that's how much you're going to get paid, it's like, how do I buy groceries with this?
That's a very big decision, right? What was there's a reason I feel like behind that you
I
did that.
really
So.
wanted to work with this team.
Wow.
I really did. I had different offers. I had 3 to look at.
Right.
2 were full-time in Berlin. I was unknown in
Right.
tech, specifically in Berlin, because I'm coming from the United States. I've never lived outside the United States.
Right.
And I kind of evaluated my options, and I thought, there was a shift in my mentality where it wasn't, will these people pay me well, like as, cost or living as an independent variable, like what
Right.
that lifestyle would look like. It was, I need to be intellectually challenged.
Right.
And I wanted to find work. I mean, that sounds weird. Like, this is a to-do list app.
Right.
How challenging is it to build a to-do? I'll tell you, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's this problem, and it just won't leave us.
Leave us, yeah.
And we have to fix it. And I would say, if there's any advice I would give to entrepreneurs and founders, stick with it. You had an idea.
Right.
And I feel like you can't be the type of person who is so stubborn, right, that you're going to drive your business in the ground because you just are unwilling to maybe change your tactics.
Right.
But stick with your vision. And that's something that I learned from my Wunderlist days. That's something that I've learned recently with this Gtmhub team, is that they were humble enough to make a shift.
Yeah.
But the overall vision was still the same.
Right.
We want companies to feel good that they know they're going in the same direction and actually making progress.
Right.
Toward whatever it is that they want to do.
How is Hatch helping you with sort of your product or your journey? And and we also foster a sense of community within Hatch companies. So anything that that you are gaining from as being part of the community, or if there are things that you have asks for in terms of the Hatch community, whether they can test your product, they can give you feedback. So let's touch on that.
So you have a really strong brand, to be sure, but you actually have a product that's really solid.
Yeah.
Things that we worry about, honestly, like all companies, is scalability, right?
Yes.
Like, and right now, ever more so, is compliance. And you all cover that. We need to be able to have a reliable service,
Right.
That is distributed across the globe, because we have customers all over the place. The ease, I guess, of being able to hop on DO is really a selling point. And honestly, especially for early stage startups, the cost.
Yeah.
We needed to be really responsible with the money that we had.
And that can be a big difference,
It's a
especially for
massive
early stage companies.
Right?
It's the difference between you being able to extend your burn and making other investments.
Exactly.
What about, we talked about customers. Is there a customer segment you're focused on? Sounds like, any size team can use your product, but you are trying to solve for larger teams and larger companies. Is that
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because we see the pain points of retention when people kind of get lost in the mix.
Right.
Right. And the challenges that come to bear. I mean, I worked for enterprise.
Right.
I know what it feels like when you're kind of questioning yourself and you have this little bit of an existential crisis. Like, why am I here?
Right.
What am I supposed to go do?
Yeah.
And how does my work actually contribute? So I feel like I'm solving for hopefully other people who may feel that way, that problem.
Yeah.
We do not rise to the level or the height of our ambition. We fall back to the strengths of our training and honestly our systems.
Right.
It's the habits.
Yes.
Right? As much as all of us want to say, we are visionaries and we want to excel, at the end of the day, we fall back to our habits.
Yeah.
And if you do not have a habit of pushing to other people information about what you're doing, why it matters across the board, then it's likely you're in a situation where you're under arrest. And if you do end up being successful, it's by accident rather than intention.
Rather than intent. Yeah, I agree.
That's not okay.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing these insights. Amazing to see the progress you guys have had so far. Good luck with your roadmap and future successes. And can't wait to have you back, next time, sharing success stories of your growth. and we will also try to use your product now.
That's so exciting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.